Welcome back to the Gone for 10 show. I am joined by the Larry Taylor. I have caved in, Larry. I've changed my name to the Tony Rosina. We're Twitter brothers, like you said off there. How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm good. I just spoke to the mum and the dad, and they just let me know that they adopted you. So, really happy to have you on board, Twitter brother. And yeah, look, I'm good. It's Friday night. I've had a couple of red wines like I did last week. I think I got a bit of a drinking problem, but nonetheless, let's crack on with the video. And we've got some belting teams to review. So, I'm really excited to talk about this one. I think it might bring up a few debates, but I'll leave it to you, mate. Let's rip into it.
Well, we'll jump in. Like you said, it is an exciting time. We're less than a week away from the NRL season. So we're going to pump them through. We're going to have heaps of content coming quick and fast. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode. And Larry, I'll throw it to you. We're going to jump straight into it. It's the Manly Sea Eagles. You've got their ins and outs there. There's not many ins. There's a few outs. We've gone quite close, but explain to me why you've gone fifth and what you expect for this season.
Yeah, I mean, their spine is so strong. You've got the man right there. Trbojevic is just a phenomenal fullback. In my opinion, finished last season as the clear-cut best fullback in the game. Now, of course, I know that's debatable, but on my opinion, I just think he's so well-rounded. He's got explosive pace. He's a wonderful ball player. He's just everywhere. He's energetic. He's truthfully a lankier version of a modern day Billy Slater. I know people like to compare to Tedesco. Personally, I think Trbojevic is closer in the mold, and I really do like Turbo. You could even argue he's the best player in the game. He won the Dally M last season, and comfortably, I should add. In terms of their side, look, it speaks for itself. You got Daly Cherry Evans. Who's the hooker? I'm having a mind blank. Who is the hooker?
The hooker for Manly.
We're doing as good as each other at the moment. But we'll move on from that while you check out the name. Again, their forward pack is, again, still really strong. I look at them all over the park. We really comfortably how do I describe the Manly side? They're superstars in the right areas of the team. I think the two Trbojevic brothers, Jake Trbojevic is phenomenal. Again, he's a ball player, as well as being so good at making meters. Daly Cherry Evans is one of the best halfbacks in the game and has been for the best part of a decade. Kieran Foran, now whatever your thoughts on him, they complement each other really well, like they did in 2011. And I can't believe that they've found themselves at the same club again in the halves. It's almost... It's comical, but it's a little bit romantic if you're a Manly fan.
He almost looks 25 again. He almost looks like he's playing that form that he was when he first started to hit that peak, and it's exciting to see for Manly fans.
Who's this? Cherry Evans
or
Foran? Yeah, even at the Dogs, I was always a fan of his. He split fan opinion in the blue and whites, but I thought he was always good when he played. I just thought the issue was how often he played wasn't as much as we would have liked. He's comfortably, easily in the top 5'8" in the NRL. Undoubtedly, he's injured. That's the only thing that's counted against him his whole career. But the reason that is because he plays physically. He gives you 100% commitment when he's on the pitch. So, full respect to Kieran Foran, the Kiwi international. They're just such a strong side. Look, I've gone fifth. You've gone fourth. I mean, we're talking fine margins here. I just think State of Origin might hurt them a little bit. They'll obviously lose a few players there, and as you can see through the ins and outs, they haven't really gained anything phenomenal, but they haven't really lost anyone of note either. So I think based on what we'll see, they'll compete this season much like they did last season, and I think they'll finish fifth.
Yeah, that's fair. Obviously, I have gone fourth, like you mentioned. Tom Trbojevic, absolutely star player, and I'm completely in agreement that he finished last year and he's going to start this year as the best fullback in the game. Now, my only concern with Manly, and I was going to put him a bit lower, but I have put him in fourth, is does their season rely purely on how Tom Trebojevic's hamstrings hold up? Now, last year after 4 rounds, they were favourites for the wooden spoon. He came back in. He led them through the season. He scored in a crazy amount of tries. Larry, I'll ask you, can he back up a season that well and put on the exact same amount of tries and try assists that he did once he came back from injury?
It's really interesting. I think he benefited from the interpretation of the rules, or the crackdown, if you like, more than anyone. And the reason he obviously benefited was he's quick, he's agile, and he's extremely fit. He was able to give you a level of performance in minute 1 like he could do in minute 80 or beyond that should they go to Golden Point. And I think fitness is such an underrated thing in rugby league, and that's what made Billy Slater, for me, comfortably the best fullback in the game for well over a decade. Yes, he was obviously brilliant with the ball and defensively as well. But the thing that Billy Slater did over every other fullback was he was in the game at any given moment. He would be on the left side for tackle 2, and he'll be attacking you on the right side on tackle 4. He just knew how to be everywhere, and because he had the fitness capacity to do that. Tom Trbojevic in this quicker game and the crackdown really benefited because he was fit and it was a quicker game and quick players will thrive in that. This season will be interesting because I think you're going to see it's going to be a little bit more lenient. We've already seen that they're backing down on the 6 again, which I think they needed to be honest. I know you and I have really just been previewing the teams, but if I can touch on the rules for just a little bit, I think is it inside the opponent's, when you're attacking goal, they're not going to rule 6 again. They're going to go penalty. I think that's a really good decision because I think the onus has almost been too heavily weighted towards the attacking side. Defense should be rewarded as well. So will he back it up? He will still be brilliant. I think he'll still absolutely be up there in terms of the Dally M's as well. He hasn't lost his talent. In terms of the crackdown, if it is a bit of a slower ruck, he's not going to get as much space as he's used to. But can he go the way he did again? Look, I don't think the Dally M's will be as big as a landslide, but will he win it again? I'm going to say no. I think Nathan Cleary, if you're asking me for early money, Nathan Cleary would be my choice for Dally M.
Yeah, and that's a great wrap up. And obviously we have spoken about a team that we do think is going to finish at the top of the table. We will move on, obviously, because we are trying to knock off a few teams in this episode. We're going to go to the other end, Larry. A team that, if you're a fan right now, you don't have much hope going into the season, the West Tigers. Now, it's quite dim. I've got them coming dead last. I've got them taking home the spoon. You've got them 15th. I'm looking at that lineup and I'm thinking, I don't know if Luke Brooks can carry this team. I think he's got to start handing over a lot more of that play to Jackson Hastings. He did look good in trials, but Larry, talk to me through obviously their ins, their outs, and obviously your 15th ladder prediction.
It's West Tigers. Where do you start? Reason I'm going 15th, they're just lacking in every single area of the team. Their forward pack gets dominated most games. I'm going off last season, obviously. Luke Brooks he's such a weak point for me. He's had, how old is Luke Brooks now? Born in 95. He'd be turning 27 this year. For someone who was renowned as, unfairly I should say, but as the next Andrew Johns, like he just has not fulfilled his potential at all. He's still got ability, and I think with a good controlling halfback next to him, I think you could still see a level of performance. But make no two ways about it, he obviously has not fulfilled his potential. He hasn't come anywhere near to that. And I think because they don't have an overall game general, much like the Bulldogs, you can't win in this competition if you cannot control football games. And crucially, if you do not have a halfback who knows how to dictate the way the team plays, direct them around the park. The other part is, and I guess where I'd say a counter argument, the Dogs don't have a good halfback, but what they do have is a good starting pack at least and a decent backline. I mean, the West Tigers, there's some quality there. I like Dane Laurie as a fullback. He's dynamic, he's diminutive. I like him. I see a lot of ability there. I love Adam Dewey, and I think he'll be a key player this season. He has to play 5'8" for me. He has to be 5'8" this year. He got moved around a lot last season to the side's detriment as well. I thought a really good player. But like you tell me, you just look at them. Now, obviously, they got Api Coruscant coming in. Well, then I look at who's the number 9 this season. Jacob Little. He's not. I mean, with all due respect, again, another player who's had his fair chunk of first grade. Doesn't seem to be up to it. You look at their forward pack. Doesn't scream quality in any way. Where are the points going to come from? And crucially, they got a weak underbelly. They concede a lot of points. Just weak all over the park. I just can't see them competing.
Yeah, completely agree with you. Like you did mention, they do have obviously Api Coruscant and Isaiah Papali coming in next year. But for this year, it just looks like a squad that you don't know who's going to step up. You don't know where the points are going to come from. We saw last year, and I don't usually go into bat for coaches, but we saw last year players coming out and saying he's training us too hard. We're not too happy with Michael Maguire. Like, if you've already got players that don't like your coach and you don't have that spine, you don't have that attack going forward, you're in for a bad season. And obviously, I have put them last. We will touch eventually on the team that you have put last because I'm very interested to see who you think is going to have a worse season than the Tigers, because it's going to be a dismal season. I think moving on, 2023 could be a better year, but I can't rate them when they've got Luke Brooks running the show. I can't give them much credit going into a year where Luke Brooks is going to be the star, both in attack and then obviously his defense. Well, we've seen his defense; it's quite poor. So,
Yeah.
like I said, I've got him in there for that wooden spoon. Larry, is there anything else you want to add before we move on to our third team?
Yeah, I'm looking at this forward pack. So we got Alex Twell, who I think's he's a first grader. He's a first grader. He's got quality about him. Jake Simpkin could play number 9. I haven't seen a lot of him. I couldn't tell you. Is he going to be up to it? They've signed the hooker for next season for a reason. Okay, case in point. Then you look at the rest of their pack. Stefano, Itoi Kamanu, Luke Gardner, you got Leilua, and then you got Tyrone Peachy. I mean, Tyrone Peachy could be a good signing, but I think he's past his best. It's fair to say. And then you look at the bench, predicted bench this is. Kelma Tuolagi, Joe Afengawi, Zane Musgrove, Thomas McKaylee. There's just not enough there for me.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't scream points. It does not scream points
James
whatsoever.
Roberts was on a train and trial. He got signed last minute. Look, David Nofaluma is a good player, and he always has been, and he'll do something. Ken Mamalo, the Warriors didn't want him. And with all due respect to the Warriors, if they don't want you and they're finishing 12th every season, well, then I don't know what that tells you. So West Tigers are signing Warriors rejects. The one that could do it, maybe Jackson Hastings. He comes back. He's got a point to prove. And I think a motivated Jackson Hastings could be a good thing because he's got all the ability in the world. But yeah, you can't see him finishing above that bottom 2, unfortunately.
Well, obviously a team that they will face in round 1. It's not a team that you really want to play, but they do take on, and it is our next team, the Melbourne Storm, in round 1. Now, I've gone second. You have, I believe, put the Roosters in second, so you've put Melbourne in 4th.
Yep.
Talk me through that, Larry. Why do you think they're going to finish 4th, and are you writing off, I guess, the Melbourne Storm a little bit too much here?
I don't think so. Look, we say this season after season. Since they lost Cooper Cronk, we thought they're going to fall away. Then Cameron Smith retired. Then Billy Slater retired. Sorry, well, the other way around, but you take my point. But you look at the outs this season, it's really significant. Josh Adokar, best winger in the game. Undoubtedly. Is there any debate there?
No debate whatsoever.
Dale Finucane, an absolute workhorse. Someone who gets through a mountain of work, always up there in terms of the tackle count, makes meters, takes countless hit-ups and you can't replace that prototype. That sort of player is crucial to a side. And I look at their pack now, and again, it's still a good team. It's the same spine that was there last season. So based on that, you have to say they will still continue to do well. A look at the signings coming in. Look, Xavier Coates, natural replacement for Adokar, a different type of winger, but in terms of pace, really good. Nick Meaney's a depth signing. He won't be playing a lot of first grade. Jaden Nikorima, same thing. I can't see him being a regular part of the first grade side. And look, Josh King, decent signing. Again, not prominent. So you look at the players who have left there. Nico Hines, Dale Finucane, Josh Adokar, those 3 players all played major parts in Melbourne season. Melbourne season last year. You look at they haven't replaced any of those players outside of Xavier Coates. So you can't keep losing quality players and expecting to stay up there. I think this is the season where Melbourne will feel the pinch a little bit. Still good enough to finish top 4 because they got a phenomenal coach, still a good spine. And in that Melbourne system, as we've seen time and time again, you find players, they come into the system, suddenly they look like they're all state of origin players. But you cannot continuously lose quality and expect to continue to be up there. It won't happen. So I'm expecting a small fall off, and I'm saying 4th.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, I obviously have gone second. A team that is coached by obviously Craig Bellamy, arguably could be one of, if not the greatest coach that has coached or is coaching at the moment. There's a few of them up there, but like you said, they seem to lose players, and then all of a sudden they bring up this 17-year-old youngster, 18-year-old youngster, and he turns into the next big thing that all these clubs are chasing. So they do have a wide spread of talent up there that they are pinching from. I'm going to go out there early and say Coates, try scorer of the year, leading try scorer. I think he's going to get a lot of ball out there. He's going to score points, but I think a lot of the pressure now falls on Cameron Munster. His contract's up in the air still. We don't know if he's going to end up at the Dolphins. We don't know if he's going to re-sign. Obviously, the Cheese, he's off to the Roosters next year, buzzing about that. But you could see a point where they lose a Cameron Munster, Brandon Smith in the Cheese. We don't know how long Bellamy has. Like, this could be, like you said, the start of a decline for Melbourne. I'm not stupid enough to write them off. We've been doing it for years, but it does seem that way, that they're starting to lose hold of these big-name players, and those players are starting to look elsewhere. So I've gone second purely because it's Melbourne. They had a good squad last year. They've still got a good squad, but I 100% see your point where they have lost a few players and they haven't replaced in every position that they have lost. So, Larry, I'll let you wrap it up. Is there anything else you want to add on the Melbourne Storm?
I think they will look back at the end of this season and regret not letting Brendan Smith go. I really do believe that. And that's not a criticism of him. I personally didn't really take any exception to the interview he had. Sorry, I don't remember what channel it was on. I did see what he said, though. In terms of being very excited to play for the Roosters when he's still under contract, I can appreciate it's not great. I just think Melbourne might look back, and I think he's the sort of player, or that scenario can be enough to distract a side. It's just one of those where you can look at it and you can say, "Oh, is his head already gone?" You know, I could be wrong, and maybe I look like an idiot in 6 months' time when they're inevitably lifting up the premiership. I just think they probably should have moved him on after that debacle, but we wait and see.
Do you see there's a chance where Harry Grant gets a lot more game time, and you do see, if he's not in the game, you see Brandon Smith making that cameo off the bench, especially towards the end of the season?
It's an interesting one. I personally would be doing that. I mean, Harry Grant starts State of Origin games, so why is he starting on the bench for the Melbourne Storm, right? But in saying that dynamic was so successful last season, you don't let Harry Grant get all that defensive work out in the 20 minutes. You bring him on fresh with creativity. And man, Brendan Smith he's honestly such a gifted footballer in the sense, yeah, he's not the most natural ball player when he's at number 9, but a player who's so comfortably able to play number 9 as he does in the back row. He's a rare breed. There's not many footballers out there who can do it. It'll be interesting what Craig Bellamy does. I think he would do wise to integrate Harry Grant more prominently into the side this season. I think you want that creativity from the get-go. Where Melbourne got exposed last season, Jerome Hughes, as good as he is, I think you're seeing, again, the dip-off. He's good, but he's not Cooper Cronk. He doesn't have that natural creativity about him. He's not a natural game manager. So I think what you're going to look for is Harry Grant to almost be what Cameron Smith was. Now, obviously, he's not going to do it. He'll find his own way to do that. But he's the more natural player who I think could be the game manager for the Melbourne Storm. So if you're going to look for Harry Grant to do that, I think this has to be the season where he becomes an 80-minute player.
Yeah, completely agree. And obviously, Larry, we are pushing a bit longer. When we did start this podcast, we said we're going to try and keep to that 10 minutes for that theme. But obviously, we are trying to pump out as much content and get all the teams done before the season starts. So some of them may go a bit longer. We're almost at about 19 minutes, but we will wrap it up and we will be back to review a few more teams. Now, Larry, you've got something to say to the people that aren't subscribing. What should they be doing?
They should be hitting that subscribe button. And if they're not, you can go for 10.
Go for 10. Good to talk to you, mate, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers.